Fuck, these channels look good. Oh, sorry, I'm so stoked. Look at this. Absolutely perfect. Looking good. Yeah, anyway. God damn. God damn, that looks good. Now, looks beautiful. Now, this is quite easy because the when I glass the deck, where it's green and white, that's going to remain texture, and it's only the rail here where it's purple I'm going to sand. Going to look smick. By doing the texture deck, I'll probably get, and not finish coat and polishing, I'm probably going to get a kilo lighter. So I'm just doing the sanded finish, what I used to do years ago. So get my sanding pad, left it out in the shed. So, right. So, let's get this on like Donkey Kong. There we go. Right. Now, I'd like you to press the stop. Now, I'm just putting a bit of styrene on this rail, because when you sand it, the laminating resin smears, and it creates a white smear on the board, because it's sanded laminate. And what happens is, when you put this on it, the styrene melts that smear away. Okay, sounds silly, but makes it perfectly clear. Because it's no longer solid, it's just sanded resin that's swiped over the board. This actually cleans it off. You just go over it with the brush, backwards and forwards a little bit, and that actually washes it or makes it disintegrate and go clear again. I'll show you what I mean when it's done. There we go. I'll just put this away. Right, so what I've done, I've painted all that smear and it's all melted it away and then just spread out as clear, okay, like the resin is. And I'll give you a close-up of it. Now, I'm doing another one of these next week for a slightly smaller surfer. That one's only going to be 3.5 thick, but I've got a feeling these big boy models are going to be awesome. I reckon one guy, JP, if you get to watch this one, this is right up your alley, mate. Anyway, I'll show you what I've done. See how it's all perfectly clear now. When I sanded it, what happened was it just left the it's like the bit that comes off the grime sticks on there and leaves it white. Now that I've cleared it or melted it away, it's all perfectly clear all the way around. Okay, spot on. Just takes a few minutes to dry. I'll just check here. I thought I seen a tiny little bubble there. tiniest little one. All I gotta do, show you, you can see this live. You just get your knife, put it here, little cut, go around. Because sometimes you do, you get a bubble here and there, but it's not the end of the world. That'll now fill with resin, all be fine. So it's just a way of checking everything, make sure the tip's perfect. Make sure that tip's perfect. Yes, it is. Okay, so, but this model, if you're a surfer and you're 100 odd kilos, 120 kilos, it's going to be like you're on a Malibu. But it's going to perform like a little 6-foot shortboard. Right, so I'll try and clean up this. What I'm doing here, I'm making sure all the styrene's evaporated, because if I put cloth on that now, if the cloth gets wet from the styrene, it leaves a white mark that stands out. So grab my camera. Boy, that clears everything out. So, yeah, so anyway, one of the guys yesterday commented, I've had to ask him, Brandon from up north, California, he commented about his weight loss that he had from going on the carnivore. I'll have to find out from Brandon, because the guy that owns this board, him and his wife are doing the carnivore now as well. And he asked me, and today, 111.2. So I'm still a fat bastard, okay? But I've gone down from 114.9 and gone down a belt size. So, a notch in my belt. I've got no more notches in my belt. So, yeah. So I'm happy about that. Very happy about that. So I'll have to find out from Brandon over what period of time his weight loss came from him going on the carnivore. So it's really nice. Everyone's sharing information together about their positive things, which is always really good. God, I'm stoked on this board. I mean, one thing I'm not too worried about with this board is, because I've refined it slightly from the one of Fred's, I just made a touch out of the rail here. It feels fucking phenomenal, okay? As I said, if you're a big surfer, you would hop on this and just be blown away. Now, I'm only doing a half patch on this. Oh, cool, John. Yeah, um, it's sort of one thing I've found. One thing I've found is that bloating part, and as I said, I'll be happy if I can get to 110, 100. I'll be very happy because it still means I'm overweight a little bit, but I'm 6'2". I'm not built, I'm not built big, but I'm a big unit in a sense, like uh, wide and stuff, and more up top chest. So if I can get to 100 kilos, even when I was young, I was 87 kilos. Yeah, I was 87 kilos when I was young, like 20s and fit. So 100 will be more than enough. It means everything, all my illnesses will be in check. They'll all be perfect. And I don't want to end up this little fucking skinny university going fucking, you know, I mean, if you're thin, good on you. I wish I was, but I just want to get to a realistic weight, a dad weight. You know what I mean? Not overweight, as I said when I hopped on 111, and even yeah. I know it sounds funny, but when you stand there, okay, and you look down, I still think that's one of the best indicators on where you're at. Okay, if you can look down and see the front of your body, your pockets, other pieces, I suppose, but your legs and everything. If you can look down by just going like that, I think that's a good indicator. Whereas before, if your guts out a bit, you look down, you just see your toe tips. And I'm not talking about leaning over. I'm just talking about the straight lines down. And that's a good indicator because, yeah, I know it sounds funny, but you know what I mean. Like, but it is even in the mirror because I have a shower every morning or bath, and I just look and go, fucking hell, I'm starting to change shape. You know, the bloating's gone. There's a lot happening. I'm actually pretty excited, and I'm excited for. I've got a couple of other friends that are thinking about it, and even Jeff, one of my friends, Jeff, he's been trying a few different things, and he'd love to get his sugar a little bit more on track, and for that alone, and information, I said, because we talked about it yesterday, he said, I might have to try that. And I says, Jeff, if you ever got any questions about what I'm eating, it's very simple, and I hope he tries it because, and Risto and his wife, Kim, they're doing it. So, and it doesn't mean you have to do it forever. As I said, I look forward to the day. When I was a kid, I grew up, my dad's German and my mum's South African, and I was born in Germany, but I grew up on my typical roast dinner was whatever, roast chicken, roast pork, roast beef, whatever, but potatoes, green beans, red cabbage, rice, peas, all those sort of things as the meal. When we ate whole food when we were young, so all I want to do is have a nice big roast dinner with all the. I still will eat veggies in the future, but what I'll be doing is once I get to my blood sugar to 6, I'm a 7.4 now. I'm going to be fucking over the moon. But what I'll be doing, I'll be still monitoring my blood sugar to see if when I do have a few vegetable meals, whether it absorbs it quickly and goes away, or whether it impacts greatly. So it's something I'm going to be doing, for a fair while. Yeah. So and it's not hard. I learned something today, but I don't know how anyone else is going with theirs. I really love the Scotch fillet. Right now, I've been buying from our butcher who does all natural food, no drugs or no hormones. It's called the Natural Butcher. Anyway, I've been buying ribeye Scotch fillets, and I didn't realise the difference between he's got normal ones, and then he's got grass-fed. And I've had a few of the grass-fed ones before, and this last batch has just been the normal ones. Still good meat, but the difference between it's dearer the grass-fed, and that's all I'm going to buy from now on. I'm going to say, give me every week. I say, can I have 7 Scotch fillets, please? And I say, make them all grass-fed if you can, because the one that's normal, what I had to do was, I don't put salt on my steak. I don't need to. It's beautiful flavour, and I cook in butter. But the one I cooked today, the flavour, there isn't a lot of flavour in it, I found, and I had to put a spoonful of this, it's not a relish, it's like a capsicum type relish, and just to give it that nice flavour, not heaps, only a teaspoon, but it's not too high in carbs or anything, so it's just not sauce, but it's sort of like a relish, and that brought it around. But now I know the grass fed with lots of fat through it, flavour's just totally different, totally different. Yeah, so interesting. You learn more every day. You certainly don't think you know everything, and I'm happy to learn that stuff, you know. And my butcher's really good. The guys in there at Craig Cooks, they're lovely. They give you all the info you need, tell you all about it. Yeah, it's been a really nice sort of journey so far. But yeah, as I said, if I can crack the 110 in another couple of weeks, and then I've only got 10 more kilos to go, but the blood sugar is the one I'm more worried about, and my heart blood pressure is nearly normal too. Like it's so close, it's not funny. So those are the positives that I'm taking away from it. Okay. Yeah, and then a lot of friends, a lot of people, yeah. Hey Pedro, how are you, mate? I think a lot of people are talking about trying it, and all I did, I said, okay, I'm going to do it for a week. I'm going to do it for a week and see what happens. Now, I used to be the worst person going to the fridge and just nibbling on snacks of stuff non-stop. I was terrible. Couldn't walk past the fridge without grabbing something to nibble on. Now, totally different scenario. What I do now is, yes, I'll go to the fridge, but I'll grab a little piece of cheese. So now it's all about whole food, and yeah, it's amazing, and you don't feel hungry. And all the studies now are showing that yes, you do live longer if you eat meat and a bit of everything, but where the meat was demonized, it's they're finding out, you know. Basically, the way you look at it, if the government told you not to eat something, treat it the same way you would their advice on vaccines or mRNA vaccines. You know what I mean? Like, now I'm just going to talc this nose up a little bit because I want to roll the cloth back, because I've tried to put my sticker on. So I just put a bit of talc on there. Then when I put the glass on here. But I think my study I'm doing at the moment, out in the open, public, and I can't run away from any facts. I can't run away from any of my symptoms or anything like that. And I think they're the best studies, the ones that are truthful and honest and in real time. I had one this morning where I commented on a vegan post because they were bagging meat and all this sort of stuff. And the actual, talc's the best. They actually have proven now that women that are not eating enough meat through pregnancy have more chance of brain development issues with their kids. So the old, no wonder you get so many autistic. Well, we got Kim's got, Louise is autistic, but there are a lot of kids with autism. But yeah, that's a big problem. Yeah, John that's making a few comments there is in Portugal at the moment, and his son Lachlan as well is making some boards. And I had a look and I've gone, oh my God, he's doing a great job. And he watches my videos and stuff along with John. And I'm just happy that the whole idea of a lot of my videos is for two reasons. One, for my clients to see their board get made, and for potential clients to see that I do the whole lot. I'm not a fake board maker. And the other one is to teach. When you get young people, when I was 15 and wanting to do it, no one wanted to show you nothing. And I had my door closed in my face many a time. And that's all right. That's why I'm so eager to help as many of these. But the only thing I say to them is every board gets better. There's no magic formula. Every board gets better. And practice makes perfect. And I always, like when I taught Rishma, who came out from Vanuatu, and she made 5 boards. You know, she did a good job. Oh, thanks, mate. But she did a good job learning. But I say that to everyone. Every board gets better. Doesn't matter who you are. I'm still improving every time. You know what I mean? Like I've got a long way to go. But every board gets better. You're only as good as your last board. So you've got to be fair dinkum about it. You can't do a shit job. Yeah, every board. And it's not the end of the world. If you get a bubble or you get a mark or a run, God, some of these people just feel like they're going to commit suicide because they've got a bubble. Fuck that. Surfboards are for having fun. Yeah, they're not perfect all the time. I don't think I've ever done a perfect board. I think I'll rate mine at, if I was judging my boards, I'll rate mine at about 8. I don't see many people that do 10 out of 10. But I do about an 8, I reckon. And to me, that's enough of a level where you're doing a good job, doing it quickly. That's the key to it. Far out, this is going to look good. What's the time? 7:38. Okay, I've got time to glass this now, which I'm about to do. Temperature is very low. So I'll leave the heater on. Grab some resin. I'm going to use this stuff in here for the filler coat. That's been open for a while. Here we go. Now, let's get this on like Donkey Kong. It's pretty cold here in the morning. I think it's about 10 degrees outside. We've got a nice cold winter. All the Fruit Loops are saying it's the end of the world again. It's just, we call it winter. Now, tell you what, though, I'm pretty excited because this one's going to stand out a mile at the beach. Like, everything's gone that boring fucking black and white at the moment. And I never liked it the first time round. I was a fluoro boy all the way through. The 80s, I loved it. Some of these people went the hardcore black wetsuits, all that stuff. But I always found that was the little dick syndrome. They just want to try and prove they're, you know, bigger or tougher or whatever because they wore black. You know, like, give us a break, fellas. Happy with this spray. I thought about something like this because I thought, right, I'm going to make this board stand out heaps. What spray can I do? And I've always liked this because it was very early 80s. Yeah. You can definitely see it on the wave. What I've done as well, I've used a bigger sticker. I've used a sticker that it's about 100 mil bigger than my normal one. So what it means is it looks like, it makes the board look smaller. Let the resin do the work. Now I'm going to use my roller here because, one, saves you heaps of time, okay? It really does. It gets the glass full on flat against the board. Plus, I do this a lot just to piss the people off that spend all day going backwards and forwards with their squeegee to show them how fucking waste of time what they're doing is. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't worked any of this resin in, I've spread it out a bit. There you go, that's it. That was not hard, was it? Now pull the resin out. God, this is hot. This board reminds me of, it's a very Wave Tools looking board. Very Lance Collins. Richie Collins' dad. Now I'm going to make sure I get this nice and dry because I don't want this to be a heavy glass drop. Now the other thing I'm going to do, I've got a fair bit of resin on my stand at the moment, but what I'm going to do is make sure I go over it to spread it out a little bit because I don't want it being how would you put it? Just let me do this quickly. Now, I use this cloth, so I don't want it to pool too much in certain spots. So what I'm going to do is wipe a bit of it up. I don't want it getting too thick still, because what happens, it can heat up the thing too much, the plastic. Only for this will be the last time I'd have to do it. But if I wipe off this excess, there There we go. That looks pretty good. Should be pretty right. Now, go over this. Make sure my lamb's all perfect. Yep, this is looking great. Making sure all this is good. Okay, I'm going to snip this a little bit because sorry, where's my scissors? There they are. I'm going to snip this because beautiful. Now, let me just clean up my stuff. Now, just going to clean my equipment up. And then, look at that. This is fucking beautiful. I'm just going to feel the weight of this, just to see where I'm at. Oh, that's good. That is really good. And then where I'm at is trying to make it so it's going to feel like a, forget about those epoxy pieces of shit you get from Thailand. I'm not interested in doing any of that sort of stuff. I'm talking about a board that will last for years, not that shit that falls apart. Clean my roller. Now, I will just get a cloth. These only cost 50 cents. I use them all the time now. Put a bit of acetone on it. Get anything on your arm off, anything on your leg, and you go over your shoe. I always clean my shoe now, because I find my shoes last longer. Simple wipe, that's all it takes, lasts longer. Now, let's check this out. Yep, that looks good. Everything looks spot on. Right, let's have a look at it now. Get a towel. Sorry, just make sure there's no air coming through. So I pulled heaps of resin out of this. Fresh air. God, this rail looks good. I'm telling you now, the rail just looks amazing. Now, get it up here, we'll have a look. Now, see how the texture is all spot on. Okay, now what that does is, sorry, just that tiny little, I'll just make sure it's full. There we go. What that does is, when I filler coat this, I'm only going to put 100 mils of resin over this whole deck, spread it out, and I'll have a thin film over it. It's going to look like this. Okay, it's called a texture deck. I'll put a bit across here, and on the purple of the rail, and that's all I'm going to sand. The rest is going to remain like this. And that, an old school way of doing it, but it's going to look unreal. So. Yeah, so that'll remain what we call a texture deck. I'm not filling that up with 500 mils of resin, and then I'm not putting 300 mils of finish coat over the top of it. So straight away, I'm going to probably save just on 1.5 kilos in weight. So it's a lightweight board. It's all about an 80s style. I'm sure all that's good. Okay, that's the fine fucking line, isn't it? Now you're talking. You see how it's wet, but it isn't. It's a really hard way to describe it. See how it's wet, but it's not. There isn't that hole in between each crisscross of the cloth. That's that fine line. And as we were talking about before, with all parts of board making, there's that fine line, and that it all comes down to how many times you do it. The more you do it, I remember when years ago, oh shit, I used to get there and I thought, what the fuck was that? Then I realised I was pulling too much out, and then I started leaving a fraction more in, and then I just understood. I got it, but it took practice. But it's all my early ones were like that, pinholes all the way through it. But, and you don't see it. I know it sounds silly. You feel it when you're going along. You'll feel it and hear it. Righto, back again. Now, fuck, this is looking good. Now, I'll turn this camera back around here. Rightio. Now, this board does not seem 8 foot, okay? Now, it's now the part I'm going to do now is look, sorry, plastic. That's why I've got plastic on the stands, because the board sticks to it. Right. The part I'm going to do now is I'm going to filler coat the deck and the rails. I'm just trimming up the excess here, so it's nice and true. You've got a little window of when is a good time to trim it. And at the moment, this is a good time. And then what I'm going to do, filler coat it. There we go. Just taking off the excess where I don't want it. Because it's still pretty soft. But by trimming it now, I'll get a true sort of, it's all looking good. Now, excuse me. Now, I came up with this sand job back about 1987, and I call it my half sand. At that time, I was glassing a few boards for a lot of pro surfers, and there was not one manufacturer in the world that was doing it this way. Okay? What they were doing was totally sanded finish. We'd see the lap, the fins, all that sort of stuff. No one was doing it this way that I'm about to do. Now, I remember seeing a post on, I think it's DHD, claiming he came up with it back in early 2000 or whatever, which was a bit of bullshit because I was doing it back in the day and no one else was. They were using ProTech. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a filler coat, 2 filler coats. One's going to be on the rail, okay, and one is going to be on the lap on the bottom. So it's but none of this on the deck is going to have much resin on it. It's going to actually have what we call just a bit, not even 100 mil, spread out over the whole area. And then it becomes what we call a texture deck. Now, the reason I'm taping this up now is because I'm going to tape up the rail first and the lap on the bottom. And then what that's going to do is give me 2 layers on it's going to give me 2 layers of resin on the rail. So when I'm sanding, if this was 4 ounce, 1 is pretty well enough, but 2, so you don't touch the weave. Okay. And the reason I'm doing it like this, when I do it on the rail and I paint it underneath, it drifts down and so forth. So you need to do this upside down so the lap comes up flat. You'll see as I'm doing it what I'm talking about. It'll all become apparent. But now I'll turn the camera back around. I'll do my Facebook one first, or YouTube one first. That looks pretty good, yep. Now I'll put this one back in here. There we go. I'll just give that a clean, it's cloudy. No, that looks all right. Now I'll bring the board back in. Just let me put a bit of tape here. Now I'm going to weigh this board when it's finished, and then I'll get Brett to weigh his on the scales, so I can compare the difference between the two. This one only has the 3mm AU sticker, but mind you, on a 4-inch thick board, that's a pretty strong, it acts like a beam. So I think going thicker on the stringer, too thick, if you're trying to keep it light, might be a bit of overkill, whereas if I do it this way, I can at least get a bit of the weight out of it. This is all about not making it super light. All I'm trying to do is keep the weight, you know, just not ridiculously heavy. Okay, so here's that there. Get rid of this. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to filicate the channels. Okay, I'm going to filicate the lap. So I'm going to, after I do the filicate, I'm going to sand this lap, sand all the channels, put the boxes in, all that sort of stuff. And then I'm going to do it like a finish coat on the bottom, which I just 180, and I'm not going to heavily sand that. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to tape up this edge. So it's going to be a couple of processes in this one. I'm using up my older filler coat. This one is not old, only a few weeks old, but it's going to be perfect for doing what I'm doing here by taping up edges, doing filler coats. Just goes off that little bit quicker. Bit of wax solution. Now I have what's called a filler resin. Now this I used to call my half stand. As I said, I started doing this back in the 80s. 1986, sort of I did the first one. And the reason I did it, most boards were done with ProTech. And what was happening with those boards, they went a horrible brown color. Anyway, in the USA, they banned ProTech, so they couldn't use it anymore. And I was well before the game, I come up with this method. Now, as I said, I've seen some bullshit things on some sites where people claim they invented it. And I know that's bullshit because I was one of the first ones to do it. Because one of the guys, I was glassing his boards when he was on the tour, he would have manufacturers in the USA and when he traveled all over the world asking him how did he do it. Because my boards looked like they were finish coated, but they weren't. They were just actually no weave was showing, which was a big thing back in the 80s. Okay, we're talking when they stopped polishing boards. Okay, and everyone was sanded finish. Well, my sanded finish boards were the best looking around. So much so in Sydney, one guy used to try and copy what I was doing. And he did it by going over the board with a bit of clear and spraying it over where he sanded through to hide the weave. So there are many different ways of doing it. Now, first off, I got back, I used to do this till about 10 or so years ago, maybe a bit longer. Then I started going back to my old finish coat because everyone was copying it. And I just thought, no, I don't want to look like, you know, what they're doing. So I started doing my own thing again and just go back to polishing. All the top boards were polished and I started doing it again. That's anything that was worth the money, because most factories haven't got the workers that can polish their boards, whereas when we started, everyone could polish. I'm just going to let this resin go off a touch more. I'm doing the edge first, then I'm going to filicate the lap and channels. Right. Let's go. So I'll put the resin in here, drop it in the edge. Now I've got to cut a little bit of cloth to put on the top of this V here, where the lap was missing. All these little things add together to make a good board. Okay? There's a tiny little section, about a square inch. Now I'm just going to cut this bit of cloth. Okay, so I'll put this bit of cloth here. And what that does is it puts the lap and the, there we go, just wet that out. So rather than having no weave there, I now have weave going all the way around there. This is starting to thicken up now. All I want is this edge to be hard as, so when I sand it, I'm not sanding it into the cloth. I want to have a nice hard edge. Now, the resin's about to thicken. I'll just make sure this top bit is all super strong. How are you going? Yeah, so see it's starting to thicken now. Just as it thickens, I'll drop it right in that top corner. I'm pretty excited about this board because, as I said, when I first originally made it, I had one particular client, JP, I made a special thick version of the pie burger. And one of the things JP said, he used to love the twin fins. And when I decided to do this board, I certainly had his height, weight in mind for this particular board. And a lot of people go, "Oh, it's very thick." I go, "Yeah, it is, but if you weigh 140, in flotation, and originally these wine guys that came out here in the early 90s for the longboard comps, they brought out some of these short boards that were so thick it wasn't funny, like 4 and a bit thick, and they weighed 150 kilos. You know, they were big boys. And my idea of doing the clink bottom in that version is this tail has so much hold, but not like a 6-channel through the tip, but in the fin area where you really have a lot of drive, and it'll make a lot of difference in how well the deathly will go. So yeah, so that's where this one's all come about. what I've done here, I've got the edge now filler coated. Beautiful. I'll just mix up the resin. Now I'm going to paint the lap first. I'm going to do the channels and the lap. And then what that means is when I filler coat it, the channels, when I filler coat it after I do the sanding, it's going to come up like a finish coat. So I only have to get, oh, what's that? 3 hands worth. Mate, good on ya. Good on ya. Proper board making, well done. And where are you from? Sorry, three hand surfboards. What country are you in? I love the communication you get with people watching the videos. It's pretty nice. I try and read all the comments. Yeah, I try and read all the comments, see where people are from. Right, I'm just mixing up my filler. Portugal. Oh, cool. John from Portugal and his son Lachlan make boards there too. John Gibson and Lachlan. Ah, cool. Well, I hope my videos you're enjoying and helping. I don't know. I don't know how many you're doing, but I always find it's nice picking up new little tricks. Sorry, I'm going to concentrate for 1 sec. Right, so I pour the resin on here. I paint the channel. I don't want heaps of resin on the channel. I want enough so I can sand it with the 80 grit. What I'm going to do now, I go across here and I go down the channel. Because I'll be sanding this with 80 grit. There we go. Now I go along the lap. Along this lap. Yeah, so now I paint the rail. As I said, I was doing this in 1980. 86. So what I'm doing here is getting resin on the rail. A bit of fucking around, but good. I'm stoked. Absolutely stoked. Sorry, I got the flu at the moment. Or I'm getting over the flu. That's all right. It's only a cold. Now, I paint the rail. Because I want one layer on the rail first off. And then what I do, when this gels, I flip it over and silicate the deck. But I have 2 layers on the rail. Now, this is the only time I squeeze resin out of my brush. I want to get it out of the channel. I don't want resin building up in my channel. Beautiful. Now go one more time around the lap. There we go. That looks pretty good. One more time in the channel. I just want the channel to be no excess resin. There we go. And one more time around the lap. Now I clean the brush. Yeah, that looks good. Now, I take the tape off. This tape is here to stop the excess going on the texture deck. Sorry, bear with me. Yeah, this is the tape. Make sure the excess doesn't go onto the texture deck, and I take this tape off. But what I've got is one layer of filler on the rail, and the bottom's done and it's flat, it's all settled. So when I sand it, it'll be really easy. Okay. Now what I don't want is for, it's about to gel. What I don't want is this to run and go onto the deck. So I go around here my brush, I brush the edge of where it was taped. It's looking perfect. Because when I fill a coat over it, I don't want any bead. There we go, that looks good. It's about to gel solid. There you go, it's gelling now. Perfect. Now, as soon as this goes 5 more minutes, I'll flip it over. And then I'm going to do the texture deck. My God, this is looking good. I'm telling you now, beautiful. Now, mix up the extra resin. Now I put a little bit of extra wax solution in here. So when I do the texture deck, I'm spreading it out so thin it's not funny, okay? So it needs to be very strong, or stronger than I normally do, because I don't want the wax separating because it's not enough on there. It will be sticky then. It's got to be a bit extra waxy so it won't be sticky. Now that's gone off. I'm about to flip the board over. Righto, give me a couple of more minutes. Bit of talc. Rub the talc on. This just makes sure it's not sticky anywhere, okay? Looking good. I'll just give it a couple more minutes. There's no need to rush it. Then when I go to sand this board, I only sand where it's purple. The rest remains, as you're going to see, a texture deck. And that saves so much weight. So it's a method of doing it purely for saving weight on the board. Maximum strength, minimum weight. A lot of Team Rider boards had this in the 80s. Now, this is still soft, so I'll flip it over. Put my plastic down. There we go. Now, the texture deck part. Make a hot mix, so I don't want this taking too long to go off. This part will be quite interesting because there'll be a lot of people that have never seen a texture deck before. But there's a lot of board makers out there. A lot of them have grey hair, and a lot of them have done so much. They're not marketing with skinny jeans and all that sort of bullshit. they just do it. Okay, so there's a lot to be learned from a lot of old board makers. Doesn't mean you can't come up with new stuff, of course. Now, this is how the texture deck works. What's this? Watch this. Hear that sound? Hear that sound? It's weird, isn't it? Now, this is how we get it perfect. Clean our squeegee. Go up the board. Down the board. Sorry, just want to make sure that's wet. See how I'm working my way across? I don't want any drips or anything on this. Go up again. Righto, so that is a perfect texture deck. Now this is the part that where you take it to the next level. You can do it a couple of ways. I'm going to do it the slow way, where I'm just going to paint it on. You can go along with the same thing again. I'm just going to paint it on. I used to run it along with the cup and just pour it over as I'm brushing, but this way it's a bit slower, but I'm going on the purple rail only. Then along the back of the board, the swallow. Now just check this part here where it was a bit dry. For starters, that's how much less resin, even more, goes on it because I've wasted a bit. But Beautiful. Now, bit of a blast from the past, this. There's a bit of a blast from the past. Now, it should be gelling very shortly, not far off. There we go, it's gelled, or it's gelling, just kicked. Okay, so that's good timing. Now I'll show you what I've done. Let's have a look what I've done. Okay, so this is what we've done here. Now, see the weave? See how it just looks like the laminated cloth? Okay, well basically it is. I spread out a bit of resin on it. Probably there's only 100 mil over that whole deck. Normally there'd be 500. Okay, so straight away that's half a kilo off the weight. When you put a finish coat over it, there's about 300 grams. And then a finish coat on the bottom, there's nearly 1.2 kilos. So by doing this finish, I've saved probably, 1.5 kilos in weight on the board. Okay, it's no weaker because there is only strength in wet fibers. There's one drip there, which from before, but that doesn't matter. But there's no strength in wet fibers, only resin. There's only strength in wet fibers. So it's 100% as strong as it's ever going to be. It's just that you can't put a deck whip on, you can't put a sticker on, and all those little sorts of things. Okay. But see here, I sand it to the edge of the purple line. I basically, when it's dry, I put a bit of tape along that line there, and I sand it 180 grit or 80 grit, and then clean it up with 180, and then I'm left with a perfectly sanded rail. Okay. Before I do that, I sand the lap, the channels. I put the box in, sand the lap and the channels, and then the bottom gets done like a finish coat. So what that means is I only put probably a 400 gram finish coat over it, and then I will maybe even a touch less, and then I'll just 180 it and then wet dry. So you're saving so much on weight. Okay, so this is an early 80s Team Rider board. A lot of people had their boards blast like this. Now, see, I love them. I think the texture decks are amazing. I had many back in the early 80s. And it's just one of those dying things that a lot of people forgot to do. So I can't wait to weigh this board opposed to Brett's. Brett's is totally different. He's got the full finish coat, polish, all that sort of stuff. This is going the other end of the spectrum. One layer of 6, top and bottom, with a 4-ounce patch here, just for hands and feet. So, as well, I've only got the 3mm whitewood stringer, not the 6mm ply. So I've done many things to try and keep this weight low, but by doing the 1 layer of 6, especially on the bottom, these channels aren't going to fall apart. Anyway, that's it so far. I'll be back in an hour to put the boxes in. There we go. Back in an hour to put the boxes in.